everyone. Hey, how's it going? Let's see if I can do this stream without babbling too much with excitement. Partially excitement and maybe partially exhaustion too. Like, this has been a marathon, a real marathon of work, and very much looking forward to when I'm gonna get to take a breather here in the coming days. So it looks like there's already some folks chiming in the comments. I'm gonna do my best to do Q&A live as we're going here. Typically, what happens when I do live Q&A is I'm very long-winded, but please, any comments or questions, put them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. I may not always have an answer, but I'll do my best. As I said in the video that I uploaded today, I'm just so amazed. I'm so honored by all of the support and encouragement that so many people have been providing. And the list of people that I want to say thank you to is a mile long. And I could not have gotten to this point without you guys. This really is a community effort. So thank you a million. Magnus Ogma. Contestants are gathered in. Ooh, I'm going to narrate this in a dramatic way. Contestants are gathered in front of an iron gate, with anticipation so dense that it could be cut with a sword. Armor and weapons shimmered, reflecting the faint light. Magic sparkled through the air, yet none dare to utter a word before the gate is open. For some will prevail, while others will perish. One thing is clear: there is no turning back now. Excellent. That's true. These gates are squealing open. Actually, I'm not sure which analogy works best here. Are the gates opening or are they shutting? I guess the Kickstarter gates are shutting behind us, but forward the gates have opened through the mini dungeons of the City of Mazes. This is so exciting, guys. I've got sorry, I meant to have this open here. There we go. So here we go. We got a live feed of the Kickstarter page. We'll see what this gets up to here in the final hour. We're approaching the final hour. There's always a nice surge at the end. Of course, everybody has to wait till the last minute. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I did also announce in that video today that even though it looks like we're going to be a little short of the 50K stretch goal, I am going to go ahead and include that in the book. Even though it's like technically we're not quite hitting it, I'm, like I said, just so grateful and amazed by how much support you all have been showing that I really want to give this everything I got. So even if we don't hit 50K, I'm still putting the stretch goal in there. We're going to get the additional dungeon of Mazmorra. And I have some great ideas about that dungeon, though there also is still, what would I say, a lot of room for it to be fleshed out. Yeah. So the way that I'm doing this book, and this is the way I did my last two big books with Kickstarter, is part of it is finished in advance. Let's say this chunk's finished in advance. This chunk is in like developmental stage, right? There are some bits of it that are pretty well developed. Then other bits of that chunk are still pretty loose. I want them to be flexible, adaptable. I want to be able to have that kind of agility and make some changes as I go. There's going to be collaborators, everyone who backed at the collaborator tiers, who are providing concepts. So I need room and space to weave those concepts in. And then there's this other chunk that it's just ideas. It's just in a concept stage. And so that's still quite flexible. And that seems to be a pretty good approach. Obviously, I'm not the only creator who does things that way. And who knows, maybe on future projects, I'll try it a little bit differently and try to get it like mostly done. That does make it difficult with the collaborators. Oh, well. Why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because the Dungeon of Mazmora actually is one that at the beginning of this Kickstarter, I really wanted that to be in the book. And I thought, of course, we're going to hit 50K. Of course. Yeah, I invested a lot in the marketing on this one. And I would say that all the heavy marketing investment didn't fully pull its weight. It helped. Yes, definitely helped, but it didn't fully pull its weight. So lessons learned. Let me get to your comments here. How do I say this? JS Genioa. Lock and load. Thank you for some real D&D. Gritty, dangerous, and not afraid to have an Iron Maiden in use. Good work, good sir. You're very welcome. The Dungeon of Algophobia. And in fact, I'll put the artwork up for Algophobia as I'm talking about it here. Yeah, that was a little bit of a tricky one to design in terms of how hardcore do I want to go with the torture elements. And there's even a little sidebar for the GMs. Sidebar, or just a few lines of suggestions of advice, which is, it's up to you how intense you want to go with the torture and algophobia. You know your own group best. Some groups are you'll want to just keep it pretty limited, like the man in the device wails in torment as Rastor goes about his fiendish work, and that's enough. And then other groups, they like all the gory details. I've been running it, as you might have seen, on the current competition on the channel. And so I've been trying to do kind of a balance, not too hardcore with the torture descriptions, but also not weak or watered down or sanitized. Like this, I don't want to go on a tangent here. I'll just make a brief comment. In D&D and many other games, there are demons. These are supposed to be creatures of real malevolence, corruption in the flesh. What do they actually do, though? We don't really get to see a lot of that. Like, they're scary looking, evil looking things, but they don't really do anything different than what an orc or an enemy wizard might do. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have a devil-based dungeon in here, like, I want to show some devils doing terrible devilish things. And that, I think, makes it makes the RPG experience it makes it more powerful, because your character is actually fighting against something that has a what is it? A violation of that which is good and right. So there are more Algophobia runs to come on the channel. They'll be coming very soon. They're already recorded. They're big. They're gonna take a lot to edit them. I just didn't have the time to get that done in the final push here on the Kickstarter. But they're coming very soon. There's like 3 more, and they are longer. Wink, wink. I did the fast, quicker death ones first. Okay. Joy Jin. Joy, what's up? Always a pleasure to see your comments. Greetings, Esper. I have a question for you, and I know I'm not the only one wondering. Are you considering a Monstrous Heroes 2 in the future featuring a new roster of monsters? Considering, yes. How likely is it? I don't know. The Monstrous Contenders add-on, or it's like a soft cover supplement that's part of this current Kickstarter. That's a bit of a pilot to see what the interest level might be. And I do have a few monster classes that could be interesting. That said, that might not be the thing that calls to me the most, and people have Certainly been getting a lot of use out of that. I'm particularly thinking about Myriad Legends here, which I've jumped over it. I've jumped over to it here. If y'all are wondering, this is our Living World campaign, and there actually are quite a lot of monster characters. We can see, yeah, you can already see even some of the top level characters are monsters. Now these 20s, these were just for like a special Halloween one shot. Those would not be like typical campaign wide official characters, but all these like level 13 and below are. And when I say official, in the Living World campaign, the characters have to earn everything. Everyone starts at 0 experience points, and so like you're really fighting and striving and earning all of your level ups. And if a character dies, the consolation, maybe we'll call it that, is you can make a new character with half the XP of the character who you lost. So it's a little bit old school. Like everyone starts out at 0 XP and you got to really earn it. And yeah, that's a little bit more harsh, a little bit more brutal. But there's a trade-off for that. And the trade-off is that you really have a sense of accomplishment. And the feeling of it is strong. It's a stronger immersion, a stronger sense of a real character, right? You connect more with the character in the game. Look at that. We got Paracosma, Dragon. What else do we have? I've seen a number of them. Vampire, Arachnir, Neferix, Ogre, Minotaur, yeah. Dragon. Another Minotaur. Yeah, so there's a good number of monstrous characters in Myriad Legends. And, keep in mind that there are a couple places in the world that fits really well with. One is in Bazagon City. Now, not all of Bazagon City, but there are many different districts. And some of those districts, they're just mega dungeons. And they have pockets of monstrous populations dwelling in them. And then another good example, this is our travel system here, where you can take your character and travel to different parts of the world and partake in adventures, because different GMs have different regions in the world. Jaya, the Burnt Realm, is mostly monstrous folk. The like standard humanoid races, like human and elf and dwarf and halflings, like they're not native to Jaya. There've never been any large populations of them that came here. There have been some small ones, some exceptions, but largely this is a realm of goblinoids, ogres, orcs, lizard folk, nagas, dragons and dragonborn, giants, lots of different kinds of giants. There are some underworld areas that have like Duergar and dark elves, but those are not, massive populations, and those are underground. So yeah, there are places in Ikoros where monstrous characters are quite viable, but it's not everywhere. Obviously, there's large. I would say the majority of the world is a more human-centric setting, a more drawing inspiration from historical fantasy, or just real-world history, and mythic fantasy and swords and sorcery, and those kinds of inspirations are always more human-centric. What are we at on the Kickstarter? Are we at 48K? 48K? Well, what was that? It's like went up by 3 increments of 1. Okay, well, every little bit helps. The more the merrier. I'm going to get back to questions here. So Monstrous Heroes 2, maybe. Grinner, hey Esper, I got one simple but possibly loaded question. What's next now that the Kickstarter is wrapping up? I wouldn't consider that a loaded question. I'm always thinking ahead, and one of the big learning experiences, I'm trying to get centered here on the camera. One of the big learning experiences with this Kickstarter and with Gauntlet Runner in general as a project was a business learning experience. And business previously, classically, was my weak spot, my underdeveloped pillar. So I had a very lopsided structure, and I've been learning and growing and developing on the business side of things for a few years now, getting better, still have a lot of room for improvement. So, you know, part of that process of getting better business wise has to do with planning and organizing and, setting up the spreadsheets of how much are each of these steps going to cost, and what's the timeline look like, and what's the projection, what do I think this is going to actually become in reality, and what's the longer term plan, and just the simple process of noting things down, organizing thoughts, ideas, plans, goals, numbers, timelines. That whole side of it is very helpful, because before, like, I didn't do any of that. I was like just a guy making videos. So there's a couple ways things could go. I don't have obviously a concrete decision made yet, but I can tell you some general things. So there's going to be the development and finalizing and shipping of Gauntlet Runner and Monstrous Contenders and everything involved with the Kickstarter. That is going to, take some months. I'm expecting to fulfill all that spring next year. The YouTube channel is a big focus. I want to do kind of two things with the YouTube channel, and these aren't necessarily new things, but one thing is videos that are good for the life of the channel, like higher view videos and videos that bring in new viewers and new subscribers. So videos aimed for the success of the channel, still things that I find interesting, still things that I'm passionate about, though being quite mindful of the longevity of the Esper the Bard channel. The other thing being the types of videos that I have more of a deeper artistic inspiration for, such as the Brotherhood saga. I really, really look forward to getting into doing the next episode of that one. And actually also have plans for the following episode. So I have like the next 2 episode concepts in my head. And so YouTube channel, the Myriad Legends Living World campaign, the community campaign, which go back to showing off a bit of this. Here are the adventures. So this is where people go to find upcoming adventures and then join those adventures. You can sort it. There's like all these tags. You can sort it by adventure level. The only event happening in the world right now is Gauntlet Runner, technically called the Great Games of Bazagon in the world. So what else? You can filter it by what realm it's taking place in. The realms of the different countries in the world. And there's a couple different views you can look at it. You can also filter it by like your availability, and it will just look at specific days and times. And this shows you like which players and which characters are joined and who the GM is, and you can click on it and read about it. And then the counterpart to this website is our Discord, and our Discord is where we do all the communication. We talk to each other about everything related to the campaign. We have things organized into a bunch of channels, so that makes it really well organized. And that's where we run the adventures as well. So there are like, the voice channels, the video / voice channels where people are actually running the game. And so people, play the game there. Some people will spectate, go and just sit in and watch a game playing. I wanted to get back to being able to give more attention to Myriad Legends because it's such a cool project. I need to add in some more sections that need some attention, like some in the crafting and marketplace section, a bit more in the world building and the lore. And then we're going to do another call for applicant GMs. So this is going to be like our fourth cycle of seeking applicant GMs, and that will get us some more GMs, and then we'll bring in more players. Anyone who's interested in this community campaign, the Living World campaign, whatever you want to call it, what you can do right now as just like the first step is join my Discord. The link is down in the video description. That link is just going to get you into just the general public part of the Discord. And then you can get there and then just hang tight. Like you can hang out and it's cool. Then later I will put out a call for players. And so you'll see that call on the Discord server, and you can reply to that call to come in as a player. It's a free campaign. We spend our time, our attention, our love and passion, our what I want to call this, there's a social resource. It's like trust, right? That's also something that we do a lot of, is community building, like our community contributing to it and getting to know each other. So like there are all of those costs, but there's not a monetary cost. I just encourage people to back my Kickstarters or support the Patreon, whatever you want to do. I encourage you to do that, but it's not a requirement. It's a free campaign. We're playing it out of the love of it and out of wanting to develop this campaign setting, because it's we think a really cool campaign setting. What else is in the future? In terms of future books, my next Kickstarter might be one that I can produce faster and maybe more like player content oriented. I'm not totally sure. Could be a Myriad Legends campaign setting book. Could be an adventure module. Could be my own RPG. I do have some ideas for an RPG, and I really think sooner or later I'm going to make one. So would that be my next Kickstarter? Probably not. I'll probably do something kind of faster than a whole RPG. Okay, where are we at on funding, everybody? Come on, let's do this. We're coming down to the wire. Cracked 48K. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Kevin Smith. Kevin, is that you? Is that like Kevin, like that I know from real life Kevin? I'm going to say yes. Have a dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. I did once, and that was enough. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Okay. Red Shadow Blade. Esper, just a bit closer. Mic audio is a bit low. Oh gosh, that's an older comment. Have I been going this whole stream low volume? I hope not. Let me know if it's too low still. And I just got bumped. You hear me mention this in every stream. At a certain point, OBS bumps me to the current comment, and I lose my place. Okay. Mr. Fluga, do you have a favorite backer / fan submitted NPC or monster or concept in your books? Do you have any expectations for what the collaborators will add to Gauntlet Runner? So the easy answer is what the collaborators will add to Gauntlet Runner. The reason it's easy is because it's a very broad answer. The people who backed at a collaborator tier, I will be reaching out to all of you directly. I'll reach out to you by email, by Kickstarter message. If I know who you are and you're like a contact of mine on Discord, I'll send you a Discord message. And I will provide some pretty simple guidelines. They'll be quite simple guidelines. Do you want to provide an idea for a monster, an NPC, a trap? Maybe you have an idea for what a room is in one of the dungeons. It's kind of up to you. I'll give some suggestions so that you have some options to pick from. But I have already gotten one request from a backer that was kind of a little creatively outside the box, and I thought it was a really cool idea, and I'm going to try to make it work. So I'm going to try to work with you all as much as possible. Generally, I can work with about anything. Now, sometimes I do have to revise a concept fairly heavily, just because, like, in the Emporium of Esoterica, for example, one of the collaborators' concepts was a Pokemon. He's like, I really want this Pokemon or a monster like this Pokemon. And I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to do with this? Like, this book is not a Pokemon aesthetic at all. But I managed to pull it off. And with enough crafting and revision, I was able to create a monster that still fit the tone and the style of this campaign setting, which is, you know, a bit more medieval / antiquity, a bit more swords and sorcery, a bit more dark fantasy, right? It has a little bit more realism and grittiness to it, a little kind of deeper fantasy. I was able to make it fit that well enough. It was on like the kind of prettier end of what the campaign setting expresses, and that's fine. And I was able to make some mechanics for it that I thought were quite cool. And then I think Wizards of the Coast stole it. So it's the Enigma Cat. I'll put it up here. How will I do this? Let's see. Can I get this too? Yeah. Okay. This, I don't see. Okay, here we go. Let me see what page. No, I don't have page numbers. How about just this? Okay, that's good enough. Elementals. So it should be like right up here. There we go. Enigma Cat. So, you know, kind of on the prettier end of Ikoros, aka Myriad Legends, but not too much so. I wouldn't say it's like overly cutesy. It still has that, you know, look of like it's been painted by an artist and has a bit of a mystical look, maybe even ethereal, you might say. I think this was Lucas Perdomo who did this art. Yeah, Lucas Perdomo. Shout out to Lucas. Haven't talked to you in a long time. So the Enigma Cat, and pretty sure in the new D&D books, there's like an Enigma Sphinx that is very similar to this, like looks similar and has maybe even a similar feature. I don't know. All right. We are getting close to 48K. Wait, I thought we already hit 48K. Sometimes people cancel their pledge and it like the numbers scroll down, and that's always such a joyful moment. So that's the general answer for expectations of the collaborators for Gauntlet Runner. I'll give you some general guidelines and also kind of help you to get a gauge of, you know, what power level you might want to pick, because that will, you know, ultimately impact the place of the monster or whatever you do in the book. And yeah, it's, for me, I'm pretty adaptable. I'm pretty good at working with about anything. So some simple guidelines from me, and then I'll leave it up to you all. Some people provide very detailed concepts, others provide very loose concepts, and all works for me. Do I have a favorite? Well, it's always hard to pick a favorite, but you know, there are some that really stand out. This is not going to be too much of a shocker for anyone who's been around the channel, but this is really hard to navigate these with the without a table of contents. Is this a table of contents? Ah, it is a table of contents. Nice. Okay, this is going to be so much faster. So there's a couple from Adam Mattis Hatter, like the Cinder Hag. So he gave the concepts for this artwork, and then I took that and just did some very slight modifications and did the art directing with Ashkan Ganbari, and then his other concept in here, which was in the adventure Blood Lament, the Obaradin. There's actually a second picture. The actual spread illustration, the full page illustration at the start of the bestiary, is also the Obaradin, which that's also the cover of Gauntlet Run of the Blood Lament. God, you know, in my like dream fantasy scenario, I would do a 3 adventure arc, like an adventure arc that's like levels 3, 4, and 5, and do a remaster of Blood Lament. And Blood Lament is the middle adventure of the arc. It's part 2 of 3. I would love to do that. I don't know if that will ever happen though. We'll see. What's another concept that I really thought was cool? The Overseers. This came from Tabletop Bob, actually. And this ended up becoming one of the deities in the world. Really, really liked how this one turned out. Everything about it, the mechanics, the lore. There's like this origin story of this god. It's actually like a communal god, or a plural god. It's like a council of gods together. The overseers, also known as the Tessari Decana. And the artwork by Joan Maldonado. Just really think that turned out really cool. What's another one? There's so many. It's gonna be a little tricky. I'm gonna be overlooking something. Oh, there's some in Monstrous Heroes that were super cool. They were NPCs in this one. Yeah. There's the Minotaur. Where's he at? Arundus. There he is. Arundus, from a fantastic patron, Locke, a wonderful supporter. Locke, if you're listening, big shout out to you, buddy. Like, you are one of the greatest supporters that I've ever had the privilege of knowing, and I greatly appreciate everything, buddy. So yeah, he gave this really cool idea for this Minotaur character who's from a fallen Minotaur clan, and he's one of the few survivors, and he's trying to find out, like, where did his people originally come from, and try to find like their homeland. And he has these magic infused serrated metal caps on his horns, and these magic infused what I want to call it, I wouldn't call them greaves. It's the iron horns of Ptolus on his horns, and then on his hooves he has hoof bands of fleetness. So actually got a couple of magic item concepts from this as well. The Teleusian clan is broken. Few are the surviving members, mere remnants of an era that had lasted for a great many centuries. Yeah, that was a really cool concept. Adam, again, had a super cool concept. Adam, if you're listening, you typically have really cool concepts. For Brandolethan, became one of the Archfey, like the original Brindlecap. Brindlecap is one of the monster classes in Monstrous Heroes. It's a Fey. Small size trickster. They're all men, and they have strange origins. Cluricon and Redcap and Puck and Spriggan, and yeah, there's, I think the intro to that class is a little story, a little poem. You know what? I'm inspired to actually read the poem. It's like it's a limerick style poem that I wrote, and he's like a Cluricon named Finn, born from a barrel. Let's see if I can pull off a limerick rhythm here. Once upon a time there was a Brindle king, and his fondness... See, I've already screwed it up. Once upon a time there was a Brindle king, and his fondest thing was wine. In the golden lands of Faery they called him Brickle-Nary, and his kingdom flowed with drink most fine. King Brickle had a revelrous land, made more grand by his pixie queen. But what a burden to carry, that such a fay should ever marry. And they bore a sorrow in their hearts unseen. No children could they ever conceive, for brindles don't breed as folk nor fish. Like the dish ran away with the spoon, infatuated in their swoon, king and queen made a starry night wish. We'll take whatever child we plea, even if he be born from a barrel. Then the wish turned true. From an old wine cask he flew, a son for the marriage deemed sterile. Not a babe was this, but a brindle-capped man, with ale in hand, tipping out of his cup. He wore a dandelion cap, and gave his pot belly a slap, Let us drink and forget our rotten luck. The queen wept great tears, as she had wished for a tot, not a sot, not this sour-faced rook. You must live out of my sight, under the sub-cellar flight. And she sent him below to the bottommost nook. For 8 whole years he dwelt in neglect, a kooky reject they named Finn Barrelhead. Then said he to the king, I ask for only one thing, a pile of sedges to use as a bed. The sedges were trimmed and delivered on down, and he wove the stems into a pony-like form. Finn mounted the steed that he had shaped from the reeds, and he made off with the wine in a storm. Farewell, mother, farewell, father, the time has come. I never was young, and I'm getting no younger. Off into yonder, Finn Barrelhead wandered, in search of adventure and new wines to plunder. So, yeah, Brandolethan is one of the archfey, became one of the archfey of Ikoros, and he's like the Ald Brindle, like the original Brindle cap, and he hands the cap down to others that take up the mantle of this archfey. Forful Skit's cool one, and end up becoming Fluga. You actually asked this question, and this is your concept. Really liked Forful Skit, and he ended up becoming one of the boss monsters in Gauntlet Runner. So he's been lurking around Bazagon City in the waterways and the tunnels for a while, the sewers, and he's strengthened up a little bit and is now in the hideous tunnels level of the Gauntlet Sprawl. Gabrielle von Hake, really liked this vampire concept and the lore he has, and the way it connects to the history of the world of Ikoros is quite interesting. If anyone is like into the history, the lore of Ikoros, read the story of Gabrielle von Hake in Monstrous Heroes, because he's like secretly there behind the scenes at a number of interesting points in history. Okay, all right, I could go on and on. Let's keep going. Are we back up to 48K yet? Tell me we are. Come on, everyone. All right. Oh, yes, we got a surge in there. Fantastic. We got 48 minutes to go. Let me get back to some comments here. Mark Mungan, I've tried Kickstarter. Have to make an account. I'm just going to try and log in on Bookface. Be right back. Best of luck to you, Mark. Hope you can make it. Jeremy K4444. Curious, what is the level of technology in the Ikoros setting? The printing press, gunpowder. No guns, no cannons, no gunpowder, no printing press. It's a stylistic choice. That's not the aesthetic for it. It draws from a mixture of influences. So it's going to have like medieval history and ancient history, antiquity. So historically speaking, those are like our ground, right? That's our foundation. Then it draws from mythology, by things that are mythic, like having to do with archetypes, like the human archetypes that are universal, that are deep, that so much relies upon when it comes to adventure stories and fantasy stories. And then fantasy, high fantasy. Yes, there's some elements of high fantasy in there for sure. Dark fantasy and swords and sorcery. So I know there's a lot there. Generally speaking, I call it mythic fantasy. Lately, I've been liking deep fantasy as well. Shmee123 full. I have a question, Esper. I'm thinking of starting to learn how to DM for D&D, but I sometimes have trouble learning how to do things. Do you have any recommendations to learn? One step at a time. Definitely go one step at a time. So what would be the first thing? The first thing I would say is going to be like getting together with friends and getting them kind of immersed or into, that's maybe a simpler way to put it, getting them into the fantasy of the story, of the adventure, right? So, creating some kind of scenario, some kind of hook, a vibe, whatever it is, something that's just going to get people interested and engaged. Like they can create their characters, and they can come with characters ready, and you can find something in the monster manual, maybe just pick out one single monster, some monster that there's something about it you like, whether you like the illustration is inspiring to you, or the lore. If you get one of the D&D books that actually has lore in it, they're not really doing much lore anymore. Maybe it's something like in the monsters stat block, whatever it is. Find something that is appealing to you, that you're feeling some inspiration with, and how can I connect this monster or this NPC with some small story that's going to be interesting to the players, that's going to get them to connect with it, that's going to get them to immerse somehow, it's going to get them to be able to care about it. Okay, so how do you do that? How do you get them to care about it, to connect with it, to immerse? Imagine this. Imagine there is a stage, like a theatrical stage. And on that stage, you place some props. And you say, okay, here's a prop that's like a background of a place. Could be a tower, could be a cottage, could be a tree, could be a ruins, could be a cave chamber, whatever it is. There's this place. Okay, and then here's a few other props to go with that place. Here's a sword that's stuck in a stone. Here's a strange looking statue. Here's a pillar with a torch burning in a sconce, right? Just put in some props there, some things that they can interact with. Then over here on this side of the stage, you've got a couple actors. They have a personality. They have a goal. Maybe they're connected to that monster you found in the bestiary. They want something. It has some goal, some motivation. Okay? Then over here, you put some more props down. Another, small location. Some more objects to interact with. Over here's a few more actors. And those actors, they have their style, their personality, their goal. Okay? You see what we're doing here? We're setting up a stage. We're setting up a kind of playground, a dungeon even. And there are some actors, monsters, NPCs, and they have a style, a personality, something they want, some kind of goal or motivation. And we've got these locations, and the locations have an environment, and they have these objects, they have these elements that can be interacted with. Okay, you see where we're going with this? We're setting up something that has a situation going on, right? There's some kind of situation happening here, and then here come the characters. Why are they coming here? Okay, you've got to have some kind of adventure hook. You can create an adventure hook as the GM, present that to them. We need this precious item recovered from this dungeon. We need this person rescued from this dungeon. This terrible monster or villain needs to be thwarted, whether you slay this monster or trap this villain in a magical prison or seal a gate so that the worst monster doesn't pass through. You can present some kind of adventure hook. Or if you want to do things in a different approach, use something from the characters. From maybe one of them has a background or a backstory. Tie the backstory into the adventure situation, right? There's always going to be at least one player in a group that's going to have some kind of backstory. And maybe there'll be multiple players in the group. There are some groups that they're like full of players that want to be more like more theatrical or more like writers. So that's another thing you can do, is draw from the ideas or details that are in the backstories of the player characters, and then weave that into the situation that is happening. You can prepare all of this pretty quickly, especially if the players are, have got their characters ready or mostly ready, and you can see that in advance. You can prepare a small dungeon. Could have just a few rooms, or maybe you have like, the place just in front of the dungeon, like the woods or the canyon or whatever it might be. Then there's the entrance, then you get inside and there's like a few rooms. And there are the props that you put in there, the kind of interactable terrain elements, the interactable objects. Maybe make the rooms connect to each other in multiple ways. That makes it, the flow of it makes it a little bit more open and exploratory. By the way, this doesn't have to be done this way, but I'm giving you advice for just someone who's starting out. Okay, so what do we have? We have a little environment around it. We have an entrance. We have a few dungeon rooms on the inside. Things connect to each other in more than one way. So it allows for dynamic movement. And the players, when they get onto this stage and they go to explore it, they can, well, really explore. Again, it doesn't have to be done this way. You can put things in just a sequential order. You go from A to B to C to D, and you can do that great too. Nothing wrong with that. Anything can be done well. But as someone who's just getting into DMing, this is going to be a great learning experience for you to prepare this small scenario, the small situation where you have the players and they have some kind of motivation that connects to a small adventure site that is pretty interactable. Like I said, connects, maybe has some loops around. And then there are monsters, or just one monster or one main villain, whatever you want to do, that also have their goals and their motivations. So this is what we have. Player motivations, they want this. Enemy motivations, they want this. Conflict, right? There's conflicts in these interests. That's going to drive story. That's going to drive engagement, and it's set in this this location that has ability to explore around, to tinker and play with different things, to get creative. So you don't even have to worry about then every last little detail. All you really are concerning yourself with is make sure the players have their character, maybe draw from a character goal or character motivation, create this location, populate it with some monsters, populate it with some corridors, rooms, terrain, objects that have some kind of dynamic flow to them that they can kind of go in different creative ways. And just run that. Like, that's it. You just let the players explore. And you as the GM, your job will be to just bring that to life. Don't worry about, I have to, have the monster succeed at this thing. Or, if we don't get this exact outcome, then I'm going to be disappointed. Let go of that. Don't worry about disappointment. Don't worry about frustrations. Don't worry about any of those things. Your job is just bring it to life. On a monster's turn, what would that monster do? A player goes to explore an area. What does that area look like? What's there? How do they feel when they're there? What does it smell like even? However you want to bring it to life. Just describe the world. Here's what you see. Here's what it feels like. On a player's turn, be on that player's side. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Maybe I can help you with, this thing that you're trying to do, but you're like looking at your character sheet and you're like, how do I do this thing? Okay, you kind of advocate whether it's the player's turn, the monster's turn, or the dungeon's turn, if I can say it that way. You're just advocating for it and bringing it to life, and just watch that life happen, right? Watch it unfold, watch it play out. It's going to take on a life of its own. There's going to be a kind of magic that sparks through this interaction of different characters and enemies. There's going to be a magic that happens from the dice rolls. The dice rolls are going to create a story in and of themselves. I know I covered a lot there, but if you do that, like, that's going to give you a good, how would I say this? Like a well-rounded taste of the Dungeon Master experience, right? That's going to give you a great sample of the Dungeon Master experience. And you can try many other things. There's all kinds of ways to create adventures and to run the game. That's fine and well, but that would be my suggestion. Create that situation that is dynamic, has some different pieces to it that the players can really explore and enjoy and get creative with. And you just focus on, how do I bring this to life? How do I make this, a immersive experience that, sweeps everyone away on a fantasy adventure? I don't know if I completely answered your question, because I know you mentioned trouble learning how to do things. But maybe I'll just stick to the first comment I made, right? Through practicing it, just go through it and do it. You'll learn bit by bit as you go. All right. There's still a few more. Okay, cool. Kepesk Urthalre. That's weird. Why isn't my username unbutchered on live chat? I don't know. Sketchosaurus getting close to the 50K. We are close to the 50K. Are we actually going to hit the 50K? We might. It's within reach. I don't know. We'll see. Chase 1013. Good afternoon, Esper. Great work on the Kickstarter. Can't wait to receive my copy. Is there anything you can tell us? Anything about the stretch goal dungeon? So I've already said some. I will say this, and you guys are welcome to give me a hard time about this. This image here that you're looking at, like the main campaign, like the Kickstarter main image, I'm pretty sure that's Masmora. Like I said, I was really expecting that this would hit at least 50K. There's another thing too that I should mention about this. I didn't expect that this illustration would be such a popular one. Hey, who canceled their pledge? We're trying to get to 50K here, people. What's the big deal? All right. I didn't expect this illustration was actually going to be so like one of the favorite ones. It was actually more like like a secondary illustration. Like I had a couple other different main Kickstarter images, and if anyone had actually followed the Kickstarter page, or for anyone who followed the Kickstarter page for like the month leading up to it, this was actually not the Kickstarter image. I had other ones for quite a while. It was later on, after I had done a lot of like pre-launch marketing and tested things out, that I realized, oh, people really like this image. And I mean, I art directed it closely, so it's not like this image like came out of the blue or anything. Like I worked with G. Pollock very closely on this image. He's a phenomenally talented artist, and he took some of the concepts that I had and some of the sketches that I did, and really worked it into a brilliant piece. And it's brilliant in a number of ways. And it was like the image that people were liking the most, like they were getting the most interest and positive response in the pre-launch ads. So it was a later decision to actually switch over to this as the main Kickstarter image. So I was really banking on the Dungeon of Mazmora, on the 50K stretch goal. And like I said, the marketing didn't fully pull its weight on this one, but not bad. It wasn't terrible, but I anticipated something higher. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'll have more to reveal about the dungeons as we go. I'm trying to be mindful of how much I reveal about the dungeons, because a lot of people are going to be playing these. And so it treads into spoiler territory the more that I talk about specifics. So we'll see. I also have the Gauntlet Runner sample PDF up here. And I'm wondering if I want to walk through this too. Let me go back and see if there's other questions. I think there are. I'm going to live by my rules. Can't wait for this because my 5e friends are too hesitant to try Shadowdark. Maybe I can convince them to play this since it's still a system that they're comfortable / familiar with. Excellent. Yeah, I hope your friends greatly enjoy this. There's kind of 2 difficulty levels, if I can put it in those terms. And the dungeons will say that with each of the dungeons in the book. So there's like the hardcore difficulty level, which is what I tend to run it at and what I've been running it at for the competitions on the channel. And then there's the, I don't know what to call it, hardcore difficulty. What's underneath that? High. So if the characters are at the hardcore difficulty level, it's very brutal, and I'd say probably like as brutal as maybe not quite as brutal as Shadowdark. Shadowdark's pretty brutal. Like, you don't have many hit points at all. You die really fast. But Shadowdark's more of like blending 5e and old school. So hardcore, and then if the characters are 1 level higher, then you're playing at like the whatever standard difficulty, let's call it that, which is still quite challenging, just not brutal. So yeah, you'll know your group best, which one is the best suited for your players. Capesk. About all they are good for is being an enemy wizard orc that feels like something different. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Oh, it looks like I missed. Nope, no I didn't. Okay, I thought I missed a message, but I didn't. Magnus Agma. It's the details like that truly makes the experience complete. Yeah, man. I'm all about the details. Even in like the Emporium, for example, I put in a bunch of little riddles and like Easter eggs in there. They're all over the place in the Emporium. There's a little bit in Monstrous Heroes, but there's especially a lot of that in the Emporium. And the lore details, even if I don't have a lot of space to put in lore, I still try to really put in some kind of interesting detail that's memorable and that maybe could lead to an adventure. Something that inspires adventure or gives a hook for adventure. James from KC, it's the final countdown. James, what's up, bunny? One of the admins and GMs of Myriad Legends. A very prolific GM, I might add. Runs more games than most people do. So shout out to James, buddy. Great to see you here. Mark Mongan, I figured it out. $5, man. Thanks for everything. Much appreciation, Mark. Glad you figured it out, and appreciation to you for the contribution. Shmee123, I just haven't been able to play my hag for a few months, sadly, due to ill health. Regret to hear that, and I hope that your constitution saving throws are successful and that you return to bounteous health. Bryant Jacobs, what's up, Bryant? Everybody, got to give a quick shout out here to my buddy Bryant, who just came through as a collaborator backer a little bit ago, which is super awesome. And also the guy who played the original Anji character, who went on to become the Mithril Emperor. So if anyone who's looked into the lore of the setting of Ikoros, or like if you watched the Infernal War lore video that came out a few months ago, yeah, that character Anji, who went on many wondrous and audacious adventures with Phantasmagencia, and then later with the Keepers of the Silver Flame, Anji and all those guys, like that's where the Mithril Emperor came from. He's not only a NPC, a character of my imagination, but is also a real player character who went through a epic long, like 3-year long, 2.5-year long campaign. Also, one of the characters became the Labyrinth Lord, and a number of the other like major prominent NPCs in Bazagon, and then also like Stragor, the High King of Magnaland, and Hravinog, the King of Naperna. So like, you know, the Mithril Emperor and the Labyrinth Lord, these are major characters in the lore of the world, and in many ways are seen as champions that defeated the Archfiend Nergoi, who threatened to dominate the to dominate Ikoros. So there's a lot of lore, a lot of roots being brought up here. Bryant says, I was there when the lore was made. I saw their fall and rise to greatness. Let those games be a testimony for what's to come for the Empire. Huzzah to that, buddy. Thanks for everything, man. Oh, looks like there's actually a whole bunch of comments. Okay. Yay, OBS. OBS is... It is a thing. I will say that. It's allowing me to live stream currently, so I won't knock it too hard. All right. We're already sitting out here on funding. There we go. Getting close to 49K. Will we hit the 50K mark? That is the big question. Wouldn't that be amazing, kind of crazy if it hits 50K like right at the final minute? Let's see. I can hope. Joy Jin, Myriad Legends is such a fun and interesting concept. I understand your desire to focus on that. You have my support. Thank you for answering my question. Yeah, Myriad Legends is just such a cool community, and really hope for it to grow. That's the plan, for it to continue to grow and thrive. Mark Mongan, you kill off one of the Brotherhood at this point. Not sure that's going to be a great business venture. So cool, that last episode. I swear your plot... I do swear you are plot armoring them, but I don't mind. No, not really. I mean, maybe slightly, but not any more than like than like a GM would normally do in a campaign. I thought Alexander was dead in that last episode. I thought he was dead, but then Hans like spoke to me and said, "No, I'm going back." So Hans went back, and wow, that was epic. It's possible. Yeah, one of them could die. All of them could die. I hope they don't. I really hope they don't, but it is possible. I at least want to get through these next 2 episodes because I've got concepts for them, and I really like the concepts. Big Daddy 6670 just pledged for 60. Hope we get to the 50K and more. Big Daddy, thank you so much. A big thanks and a hearty bardic raise of the Horn of Mead to you. Joy Jin, I would love to participate in Myriad Legends. Real life is keeping me busy. Unfortunately, I may join as a player if the opportunity arises. Yep, hopefully we can have you as a player in the near future. I'm going to live by my rules. An original RPG made by Esper would be so cool. Oh, huh. You tempted me. I have 2 ideas. I've tried out many ideas, and I've made notes and concepts of many different ideas, and I've got it down to 2. I'm not saying these are the only 2 that will ever be. No, of course not. But at the moment, there are 2 that are solid. That they're to the point now where I know this could function. This could work. Lots of the other concepts, they have like these parts that function are like, wow, that's really cool, and I've never quite seen that before. Then these parts that are, it's pretty good, and then these parts are like, that's not working. So I wouldn't do a concept that isn't fully functional. So presently, I have two ideas that are fully functional. One is, they're both kind of similar to D&D, but neither of them are like fully 5e or anything. One is closer to D&D. It's almost like take 5e, but then like elaborate on it some more, and the math of it gets developed out a little bit differently, and some elements of it are done differently, but a lot of the main bones, a lot of the main substance to it really is very similar to D&D and draws very heavily from D&D. So everything is pro and con, right? There's always pro and cons, and so there's upsides to that, and there are arguably some downsides to that. And then the other one, which is actually the one that's been grabbing my attention more lately, maybe just because it is a bit more different, is again, it in some respects is similar to D&D, and there's things about it that are like, that's drawn from D&D, or like I got my influence from D&D. And so there's I'd say a fair amount of similarity, but then there's also some major differences, and there is an approach to the main mechanic, like the main resolution mechanic of how you see if you succeed and fail at any roll you make. That is a whole different angle of approach than D&D. It's quite different. And then the way that combat plays out also is a different approach, and is quite different. And so that's been interesting, because I've been kind of tinkering with that, and I'm at the point now where I would like to play test it with people, at least just a simple play test, just to have other people interact with these mechanics and see what they think of them. Another point that I want to make on this topic, and this is something that I talk about a lot, the mechanics are not the only part that's important. There's another part, there are other parts that are tremendously important, that have to do with the quality of the adventures, the quality of the writing, the aesthetic and the style and the art of it, the lore and the world story, the way that it comes to life, that it comes off of the page. That's so important. And I would perhaps argue that that's more important than the mechanics, though the mechanics are also, very, very important. I don't want to give the wrong impression there. The mechanics ideally will express what's going on in the story and the art and the lore. That's maybe the way I want to say it. The mechanics need to support the soul of the game. The mechanics are like the skeleton, and then the lore, the design, the art, the style, the adventures, that's like the heart, the blood, the brain, the soul of it. Would it be set in Ikoros? Probably so. I don't know though. Shad Leach, how's it going, bud? Another game master from Myriad Legends. Great to see you around, buddy. Hey, Samuel here. Hey, Samuel. Your streams are usually pretty quiet. Haha. Yeah, I not really much for keeping things succinct, I guess. Maybe one day I'll get better at that, but tend to be long-winded. We're at 16 minutes. Probably not going to hit 50K. I think we're going to come just shy of it. Being realistic. But we'll see. Maybe there's this like magnificent benefactor waiting in the wings who is gonna like blow our minds and is waiting till like the last minute to drop this like mega support explosion of like a rain of gold coins, and we're gonna get our minds blown. So could happen, we'll see. Either way, I'm immensely happy and grateful for all the support that yet another tome of wonders is going to come alongside Monstrous Heroes and Esper's Emporium and Eldritch Castle, kind of the little brother of the group, to help bring this setting to life, to give you all a great experience of having some of the best adventures you've ever had in a world that really dives deep into the best aspects of fantasy. 014 Matt, fun little trickster fey creature. Every setting needs some levity of some sort. Agreed. Yep. I'm not opposed to comedy. I just don't like this setting. Let me say this right. I'm not opposed to comedy in this setting. However, the setting itself is not a comedy setting. So, Myriad Legends, aka the world of Ikoros, it is a serious setting. But just much like the real world, which is a serious place, there is humor in it, and there is comedy in it. And we have a great amount of fun playing it as well, like out of game. So there's comedy in the world, though the world itself is not a joke. It's not a goof off. One of the main tenets that is explicitly put forth for Ikoros is treat the role-playing, treat the RPG experience as something meaningful. Treat the RPG experience as something meaningful. I see the potential in it, the potential for the great things and the deeper side. There's even a bit about the setting and the plot to Gauntlet Runner. And you can use this. You know, anyone could use this. You could, if you want, play Gauntlet Runner in the world of Ikoros and like say, okay, hey, everyone, we're playing in this world, and these are the rules and the style of it all, and here's the plot. Awesome. Please, that I would love that. Or not, though. Doesn't have to be. You can take these individual modules and insert them into whatever setting you like to play in. And they're highly adaptable. Each one functions as its own standalone dynamic dungeon. Let the games begin. Bring forth the runners. Okay. Wow, I'm like I just realized now I'm way behind on the comments. Okay. Enigma Cat looks like the Cheshire Cat. Yeah, there's a bit of Cheshire Cat inspiration with the Enigma Cat. Looks like it jumped right out of the Feywild. Yeah, Plain of Fairy. Plain of Fairy, as I like to call it. More of a classic name for it. Matt, I remember the Abardin's introduction in that narrated adventure that didn't end so well for the heroes. Ooh, you have been around for a long time. You have traveled far, adventurer. That is true. The original Blood Lament was a narrated adventure on my channel, and one of the earlier ones, and actually a more rudimentary one. And yeah, didn't quite end so well for the heroes. But that actually that narrated adventure served as like the seed and the backstory for the official Blood Lament adventure module that came out like with Esper's Emporium. I really like that adventure. We'll see. Maybe one day I'll do the 3-part adventure arc of something Blood Lament as part 2 and something else as the third act. Shift Shaper Cat. I backed the project mostly because I was interested in the monster classes such as Dragon. What D&D books other than the Player's Manual 2014 would you suggest goes well with the Gauntlet Runner setting? Xanathar's Guide, Volo's Guide, those are cool. Tasha's Cauldron, well enough, I would say, to some extent. Maybe Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So let me give a couple other real quick answers. Me personally, as a GM, I'm pretty much open to about anything. I like for players to be able to really make the character that they want to play. And so I try to be as supportive as possible and allow as much as possible. Like even if it's a homebrew thing or just like an idea the player has. Sometimes those ideas do need to be revised though. Sometimes they need to be revised due to a stylistic, like a tone clash. So we need to fix something with the tone so it doesn't clash against the tone of Myriad Legends. Sometimes like it's something that doesn't actually exist in the world, so we have to adapt it a little bit just to make it fit the world. Like Mark Seifter's character, he wanted to play a Aarakocra. Well, Aarakocra is not a race in Ikoros, but what we were able to do was make his character a unique being, a child of Morpheus, the god of dreams in Ikoros. And so he's this unique being who has like a humanoid body, but with an owlish head and wings, not done in like an anime Pokemon look, but in more of like a deeper fantasy, serious style, like a mythic style. And so he's this child of Morpheus character with wings and some owlish aspects. So that's me as a GM. I try to be pretty much as open as possible, though sometimes we need to revise things to fit the style of the world and the lore of the world. And maybe mechanically. Sometimes something mechanically is a little too strong, and so we have to adapt it mechanically. But even with that, I try to be pretty... I try to do the least amount of tinkering possible. The least amount of like being a control freak GM possible. A lot of things, they seem really strong on paper, but when you actually put them in play and they're there with all the other strong options that already exist in the official books and all the different challenging things and factors that play in this whole complex adventure scenario, they turn out to actually not be overpowered in play. Or maybe they're less overpowered than you anticipated, and you play with them and then you say, okay, we need to just kind of tone that down one notch. For, beyond just me, like as GM, like let's say with the community campaign in Myriad Legends, we basically say you can use like the core books plus like the main expansion books like Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's Cauldron. And we just stick to that. And then individual GMs, if they want, they can allow things outside of it and allow homebrew. But that character can't necessarily play in other GMs' regions, right? Because we want to respect every GM's details or preferences about a region. So, like, if your character has, I don't know, a spell from some obscure book that the GM approved for his region, that's not a guarantee that a GM in a different region would necessarily approve the same thing. Another point on that, this is going to be a quick point. Sometimes for a specific region in the world or for a specific adventure storyline, there do need to be more limitations than usual. And that's just to either express what's going on in a region or to make the story function. So there are, like, for example, there's regions where, like, the GM is running like an orc-based faction. Like, that's the main base, is an orc faction. So if you come to play in his region, you have to know you're either going to be one of the orcs, or you're someone that's like the orcs captured you, or you're like some other kind of monstrous race that obeys the orcs or whatnot. And that limitation is in place in order to express a style, a lore, a story, an adventure. And that's a great thing. Limitations can have their potential if they are implemented for a reason, for a purpose. Hey, Samuel. I was puzzled over the overseers, thinking how to beat one with their reaction. Haha. Good luck. You probably need a very high level party. Very high level party. The insatiable Dr. Boom. A fantastic supporter here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you did a collaborator tier pledge just a little bit ago. I'm 99% sure that you did. Thank you very much. That was a fantastic pledge to come through. When I see those bumps, it's like a little firework goes off. So much appreciation to you, Dr. Boom. Red Shadowblade. Esper, I know you must be 18 or older to join Myriad Legends. That's true. So I hope the campaign will last until I become that age. Also, I'm a blind person, so I wonder if you've considered accessible book versions. So 2 things going on in there. Yeah, we do require 18 or older, and that's strictly just a security measure. We're not hating on young people. It's just to try to avoid any potential problem situations that could occur from minors being there. And then the accessible book version. I don't know what all that entails, so I can't give you a good answer on that. So I'll say this. This is a general thing that I've told other people. If there are potentials for alternate versions of Gauntlet Runner that others could help out with, or maybe they would like license it. I don't know exactly how the details of it would play out. But if there are people out there that want, like, I want the Shadow Dark version of it. I would want an accessible version for blind readers. Can I say readers there? I'm going to say something dumb, so I'm just going to keep talking, and please forgive any dumb thing that I say. A version in another language. If there are others that could help me with that, or maybe would actually do those that conversion work, and then license it from me and be like a partner or something, I'm open to that. It's something that I'd be open to hearing about. The reality is, and mainly I'm just a one-man show. I obviously have others that help me and interact with me and support me, and I contract artists, and I'm not alone in this. I couldn't do it alone, but on the business side of things and the actual production side, it is largely just me. So my plate is usually overwhelmingly full. So I will say this. I hope that Myriad Legends is still a thing when you turn 18. I don't know if that's going to be in 1 month, 1 year, or 5 years, but our intention is to keep going and to keep growing, and that's the direction we're headed in, and we're just going to keep doing our best, bud. So thank you very much for your support as a viewer and as a commenter. Overboard DM, what's up, Esper? Well, actually, what's up is there are 2 minutes to go on the Kickstarter. Do I answer one more question, or do I just focus on the final 2 minutes? I'll focus. I'll do a countdown when it hits the final 1 minute. Okay, we want the stopwatch ready. Okay, when that hits the final 1 minute, I'm going to hit the stopwatch. Okay. Hey, Esper, what do you use to make your world map? Photoshop. I actually do the world map from scratch in Photoshop. Does your rules, oh, it's got a timer right on there. Excellent. They've thought of everything. Does your game have solo play rules? Gauntlet Runner does not have solo play in the sense of just one person, like you alone with the book. It's because like there's all the different like puzzles and challenges, and like you would just see the spoiler right in there. Maybe one day I will make a solo play book, because I got a lot of inspiration from books like the Lone Wolf series and Fighting Fantasy. So I might do a book like that at some point. Now, there are rules for a solo runner, like the game master plus one character, like what you're seeing with the current dungeon competition and the first dungeon. The second one was squad run. So in other words, in Gauntlet Runner, every encounter is going to have solo and squad, like with a divider in the middle, and the GM uses the version that is for whether there's one character or a whole party of characters. Guys, okay, so there are some comments. I'm not gonna quite get to them all. We did break 49K, coming up just shy of 50K, but like I said, I am oh, someone did it. The magnificent benefactor waiting in the wings. Woo! Thank you. Oh my gosh. I feel like a wave of fire. Not like a bad one, but like a wave of wondrous fire running over me now, like a glorious spirit. Thank you, whoever that was, whoever did that. If you're on the stream, please tell us who you are. Everybody, we just wrapped up and we hit 50K. Oh my gosh. Who did that? Please, if you are in the chat, please say it was you. I don't know. No one has said it was me. That's fantastic. That is so cool. I was wondering, is there somebody out there waiting and is going to like slam dunk it at the very end? Was it Fluga? No way. Was it really Fluga? Man, Fluga, man, if that was you, like, I'm going to freaking fly to Norway and give you a hug. Oh man, that's Fluga, man. I think it was you. My finger slipped. Yeah. That was an amazing finger slip. Well, I'll talk with you sometime soon. I might need to go take a walk and get some fresh air after this stream. Wow, that is amazing. So we did actually hit 50K in the end. Officially. Everybody, I'm not going to get emotional. I'm not going to break down crying or anything, but I do want to say that the incredible support that you guys have shown is, it's, I don't fully have the words for it. I've already said many different words to describe it. It's more meaningful than I have words to properly say. I learned a lot from Gauntlet Runner. A lot of different lessons were learned, and some of them were very hard lessons. There really were a number of hardships and setbacks. There really were. And this is kind of behind the scenes stuff, and I don't really talk about it very much because I don't want to be I don't want to take things in a negative direction. And I also don't want to like be too preconceived. I don't know what the long-term play out is going to be, because sometimes at the moment, what seems like a setback or a hardship or even a blow that you suffer, it seems like a bad thing. But in the long run, it actually turns out to be a good thing, because you learned something from it. You gained some experience, or you strengthened from it. And then that allows you to unlock a future door that you otherwise would not have had that key. So I'm saying all that because there's been a number of lessons. Some of them have been hard lessons, but another lesson that I've learned is just how important, how huge it is connecting with you all. Yes, it's my project, and like I have this idea and this inspiration, and I want to do something as an artist, but it is not me alone. And in many ways, that's not my idea. It's not like I program my brain or anything. It's not like I'm choosing it. it's coming to me. So the perspective that really I have is that I'm like a steward. Something is coming, and I have an opportunity to share it with you guys, and we create something together with it, and we engage together with it. And I want to do right by you all. I want to do something that you guys, you get great ideas from it, or you like play some of the greatest adventures you've ever played, or it inspires you and you go and create your own thing, or maybe there's something that's meaningful for you on a personal level and it helps you in some way. Whatever it is, just that sense of like giving and receiving, this like two-way positive cycle that it's like just such a motivating thing. It's so fulfilling, right? It's like every day I get up and I'm never like, I gotta do this. Like I never feel that. I always am like, all right, new day. What can I do? Like, how can I make the best out of this? How can I give people the best thing I can give them? How can I, reach another level? How can I improve in some way so that I can give everyone something, something even better? And it's just so incredibly motivating. It's like, it's one of the greatest things ever. It's like becoming a father, getting married, creating these adventures and books that I get to share with you guys. Like they're like the top things of my life. So knowing that it's not just me crazy by myself and like other people legitimately are getting something out of it is just so, it's so special. It's so special. And I just can't say thank you enough. I just can't express like how wonderful it is. Okay. So like I said, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna get emotional. I am a warrior who is blazing a trail through a blood-drenched and shadowy gauntlet of doom. But yeah, you guys are awesome. It was like rolling a nat 20. That's it right there. Fluga at the very end, right as the hider was about to bite another chunk out of me, you came in with like a flame burst greatsword and decapitated its final head. Awesome, man. Oh, guys, I think I'm gonna have to take a little bit of a break. Just a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not gonna like disappear on you for a whole month or anything, but yeah, I need a little, just a little breather, a short rest. Okay, I need a short rest. Like, let me spend some hit dice. Jeremy 4444, keep doing what you're doing, Esper. I will, man. I'll keep doing my best. Thanks so much. Blarger, crying creates growth. Yeah, it probably can. MVP Fluga. Yeah, you can say that again. MVP all the way. My player, why are you crying? The DM, these tears are not for me. Thanks, Screw Gears. I needed a laugh, man. This was a lot of work, everyone. I have been running a gauntlet for like a year now. So, guess I'll probably wrap up the stream, right? Will any of your content come to Roll20? Maybe. I'll kind of put that in the same category that I like flailed about the answer earlier, where I talked about a blind accessible version and a shadow dark version and other languages version. There is, if I can find a collaborator, somebody who is skilled in that area and knows how to actually do the work of it, like the labor portion of it, because I don't have much experience at all of Roll20. Then I'm open to that. I'd like to hear like what would that look like? What are the details? How would that work out as a partnership? And we'll see. We'll see what we can do. I would like it to be on Roll20, and I would like it to be, for potentially other systems or other languages. So, yeah. The insatiable Dr. Boom, chase some sunsets, my guy. Love the attitude more than anything else. Thanks. Thanks so much. Fluga, worth every penny. Fluga, you and I are going to have a conversation sometime soon, because you're not just a collaborator in Gauntlet Runner. You're like a mega collaborator. So like we might have to do like a mini boss inspired by you. Maybe we could have a Fluga inspired Forful Skit mini boss. Well, just throwing that out there. Just an idea to consider. Shift Shaper Cat, congratulations again. I was feeling a little wishy-washy earlier this morning, but I'm glad I chose to commit. I hope for great things for you in the future. Have a good day. Much appreciated. That's the hope right there. I'm going to keep striving for greater and greater things as we move forward. Gauntlet Runner is one chapter out of many chapters to come. The Nord is truly honorable. That he is. Get yourself a hero's feast. That's what I need right there. I need a damn hero's feast. Short rest or broken. Take a long rest. Yeah, you're right, Hot Dice. A hot rest. a long rest with a hot hero's feast. That's what I need. Poke Noble Gun. What's up, Noble Gun? Big shout out. One of the shining beacons. One of the pillars of Myriad Legends. All right, everyone. I'm gonna wrap up there. Everybody, one last thanks. I'll be seeing you around sometime soon. You guys are the best. Seriously, you guys are the best. May your adventures be many, everyone.